Wow, that does really well actually. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're gonna be going over the Genesis G90 in the ultimate trim package. Obviously the G90 is all new for 2020, and this one has the big V8. It's pretty much the bad boy. But all that being said, a huge shout out and thank you to the Hyundai/Genesis here in Southtown, Utah for providing us with the G90. Check out their inventory in the link below. I'll include a link to the Hyundai inventory and then also to the Genesis inventory as well. But let's get right into the video. Under the hood of this particular G90, we have the naturally aspirated 5-liter V8 that goes to an 8-speed automatic transmission. There is also the turbocharged 3.3-liter V6, but again, this one has a V8, so we're going to focus on the V8. So, in terms of power outputs, it's good for 420 horsepower and then 383 pound-feet of torque with a 0 to 60 time right around the 5-second range, and then fuel economy being 15 around town and then 23 on the highway. Now let's go over the front end on the G90, and they've made some like huge changes in terms of the overall like front end aesthetic appearance on this, and I actually really like it. I think it's a really good look. So you guys will kind of notice that the hood looks just slightly longer, even though it's not. It's just how they do the body lines and everything. It just makes the hood look a little bit longer. And then with the front fascia, they've kind of left everything a little bit more squared off and a little bit more open, similar to what Rolls-Royce does with their design language. And because of that, it gives it kind of like a larger, more imposing front end design. Now you guys can see what they've done to the lights. I definitely love the new look on the lights. They are full LEDs. I love how they have like that little LED line that goes straight through it. Again, you guys will kind of notice that they square everything off to an extent, and again, that just gives it kind of like a larger, more imposing look. You got all your parking sensors across the front end. That's the sensor for the adaptive cruise control, and yeah, that's pretty much everything for the front, except I gotta mention one more thing. Look at the Genesis logo. Just look at like the, sorry about the glare right there, but just look at the details. Now around the side here, we've got two 45mm tires wrapped around 19-inch wheels in the front, and then the rear, it's two 75mm for the tire size, but the wheel size is the exact same. And I just really like the appearance on the wheels that the G90 has. It's kind of like this dark metallic granite look, and it just is a perfect contrast to the white paint, which I can't pronounce the name of the white paint. I'll show you guys on the window sticker what it's called, but I can't pronounce it. But it's like this beautiful metallic white, which I just think looks really nice and really elegant. Now coming here from the side, I just want to show you guys something quickly with the car. So you guys will notice that there on the side, when you unlock it, you actually have the turn signal there on the side as well as the front, and it's kind of cool how it like all pops on. And then this also gives you guys like a full side angle on the car. And then if you want to look a little bit closer, they kind of integrated that light with some venting, so it just definitely has this nice aesthetic look to it. And then you have a chrome strip that goes all along the bottom of the car. You guys saw the mirrors are power folding, and well, that's everything for the side. Now here's the key fob for the G90. You guys will notice that it's pretty simple. You do have the Genesis logo there on the back. You've got the lock at the top, the unlock in the middle, and then the release for the trunk, which all you have to do is just hold that down, and of course it's gonna pop all the way open. It's a luxury car, guys. Coming into the rear, it's actually pretty interesting. This trunk has some interesting stuff happening. So yeah, you get your typical floor mats. It'll say all-wheel drive and Genesis on it. You got more Genesis floor mats, and then under here, just like always, you get some extra storage. Nothing too crazy there. Now what's cool is you have the Genesis first aid kit, and you're like, okay, that's fine. And then this thing is just the most glorious thing I've ever seen. Genesis G90 Gen 5 premium class navigation, simple manual. Look how thick this is. Like, that thing is at least like 4.5 trees, and it's the simple manual. Well, all jokes aside, you can lock the G90 from the back, and you can also lower down the trunk so you don't have to lower it down yourself, which again, that's another nice luxury feature. Now that we're out back, I do kind of have to mention this. Does this not look like a Lincoln taillight assembly? Like that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it looks bad. I'm just saying it looks really similar to like a Lincoln Navigator, for example. I mean, just saying. But the whole light bar design is pretty cool, and you guys can see like just all the lights that pop on. I think it's really neat. You got all your badging, and then yes, this is how you know that you'll have the V8 from the outside, as it'll say 5.0 right there. More parking sensors in the rear, and yes, we'll get an exhaust clip in just a little bit. But yeah, that's that's the back pretty much. Well, first off, yes, you do get keyless entry into the back. It's going to be important because this is a chauffeur car. That's all I have to say. But you guys can see here, first and foremost, on the door panel, and above the door panel, more importantly, you've got shades all along the windows. Even here at the side window, they have a little shade right there. And then all of the leather here actually feels really nice to the touch. I did notice some reviews on this car that I've watched up to this point have said that the fit and finish on this car isn't that nice, and I just don't agree with that, because you have really nice leather here at the top where you're gonna rest your arm, wood trim in between all of that, and you even have like a line that goes here all the way to the door handle. So just from like a visual standpoint, that's really nice. There's all of your adjustments on the seats. Yes, you do have memory seats here for the rear, and then you can see one of the speakers for the sound system. But yeah, I just could not disagree more with like the fit and finish so far with the back here. Oh, sorry guys, it's comfy back here, and you know, I get tired reviewing all these cars all day, and so I hope you understand. But first off, we do have the vents back here, and you get these convenient little 12-volt chargers in the back, and you're like, okay, we got some screens back here, and that couldn't be too complex, but we'll get into that in a moment. First off, look at this. I have these controls on the side of the seat, and by the way, look at that nice wood trim, and I can just, I can adjust their seat. I can say, you know what, I don't like you anymore, front passenger. I'm gonna adjust your seat so I can have more legroom for myself, and yeah, that's definitely a thing in the G90. You guys are about to be amazed. This right here is just phenomenal. So first off, I like how they do the Genesis logo there, because it's gonna remind you what car you bought, which I think is pretty neat. But the nice thing is you have all of the stitching on the side, which is really premium. And then opening this up, you guys can see all lined with felt. You got a little USB, you got a 12-volt, nothing too crazy there. The craziness begins here on the side. So I've got all of my adjustments for my seats, and I can press the front button, and then that will adjust the front seat. So I can do it on the side right there, or I can do it via this little console right here. So pretty easy to kind of like do all those kind of adjustments, and it's just, look at all these different types of adjustments that you have. You can do the lumbar, you can even adjust the little headrest there at the top. Like, look at this. I'm adjusting my headrest, and if you guys are wondering, this thing's a pillow, and that's pretty much why I fell asleep. So like, that part of this is crazy, all the adjustment. This is pretty neat. You actually do get your own climate zone for the rear, and notice it even gives you the outside temperature, which, I mean, it's not too hot today, but it's pretty toasty. You also get heated seats and ventilated seats for the back, and you can be like, you know what, I'm done with my sunshade, or you can be like, hey, just kidding, come back sunshade, I miss you. So yeah, you can control all of that. This is the next part. You guys are gonna be wondering, what's power R and power L? Well, if I press power L, that screen pops on. If I press power R, that screen comes on, right and left. Not magic, but you guys will notice that you can control the screen via the dial. It is not a touch screen, so you can't do any touch function on it, just everything via the dial. It's pretty cool that you can control the radio from back here, so you can be like, you know what, I don't like what radio station you guys are listening up front. You can change it from the rear, because again, this is supposed to be a chauffeur car. Pretty easy to use, and I mean, it's crazy. You get two screens back here, so huge plus. Now coming to the front again, you get the same keyless entry, and remember, the mirror does power fold out and does have blind spot monitoring. But on top of that, you got something cooler with the kind of visibility situation. But the door panel here in the front, it's identical to what's in the rear. So you get that same really nice leather. You got the same line that cuts through, and then the nice leather just down below. Notice all of your adjustments for the mirrors, windows, all that kind of stuff. Pretty straightforward. The design on the speaker, just, I don't know, it looks really neat in my opinion. Now the seats at the front, I really like the seats at the front just from like an aesthetic standpoint. They've got the really nice piping all around. I just like the shape and look of the bolsters, and then the quilted leather design that kind of goes to like the smoother leather at the bottom. Yes, they have a million adjustments, and by the way, those adjustments are all right there at the bottom. Here's what the pedals look like in the G90. And then coming over here, you have a couple controls. Oh, sorry about that, it won't focus. But you've got a little parking brake right there. That is to hold the trunk release, obviously your gas release. And then you can control some of the safety tech, so your stability control and the blind spot monitoring, and then the lane keep assist. Steering wheel is gonna be automatically adjustable, which, I mean, it's expected with a luxury car like this. And there's the back of the paddles, and there's one more look before we pop in. Now normally I don't talk about the push button, but I really like the look of the push button here in the G90, and, well, we'll pop her on. The steering wheel kind of like falls down and everything, and the seat will go a little bit closer in just so that you're in your driving position and everything. pop on. Here's a steering wheel in the G90, and it's actually pretty interesting in my opinion, because yeah, you have like all the leather and that looks all uniform, but it looks like they could have inserted something else in here just based on how there's like a split with the leather. So I bet that, you know, this is kind of like taken from other cars in the lineup where they have like black trim or wood trim in that area or on the outside as well. So it's kind of like interesting that you can like see. I just think it's interesting, guys. But I love how they've continued the soft touch and even into the center. Yes, it's not something that you're going to be touching necessarily, but it's nice that it at least looks premium. They didn't just put like a big piece of plastic there in the center. So thumbs up for me. There's your adjustments for the cruise control. Again, it does have adaptive cruise control, your voice command adjustments, and your volume adjustments, phone adjustments, light controls on that side, and then your windshield wiper controls on the other side. Remember, you have those paddles if you want to shift the gears yourself. Now here at the gauge clusters, they've actually kept things pretty analog. You've got the RPMs over on the left side and the speed over on the right side, and again, they're kind of like that analog setup with both of them. And then yes, you do have the little pages section here in the center that'll give you different bits of information on the car. So like I can make it to be a speedo. You guys saw that it showed fuel economy a little bit earlier, and then this kind of goes through a lot of the safety tech. I love how it shows you your attention level. So like if you're not paying attention, if you're kind of like driving bad, going over the lines and everything, it's going to give you like a low score for your attention level, which I think that's cool. Now here is the center infotainment system. Now before we get into the infotainment system, I want to show you guys the camera aspect of it. So here's what pops up when you pop it into reverse. Yes, the trajectory lines do move with the steering wheel, but even cooler than that, when you go from reverse into drive, it instantly pops to the front camera. So yes, you've got that bird's eye view over on the right side, but just because it toggles between the two different cameras, it's like impossible, I think theoretically impossible to like hit this car into something because of all the cameras. And yeah, you can even toggle between the different camera views while you're in reverse. You can see that there's side views, everything. So yeah, this car isn't that big honestly, but you do have all those different camera views that you can basically pop in between. And so yeah, it's solid on that. With the rest of the infotainment system, you can basically control it via touchscreen functionality, or there is a dial. I'll show you guys what the dial looks like in just a little bit. But in terms of like the overall use of the infotainment system, it's pretty straightforward. It's just kind of like a bunch of these menus that sit side by side, as you guys can see. And then I love how it's like, oh, climate outside, and then you can press it and you're like, what does this do? And look at this, it shows you the exact temperature you have for each climate zone. So you can see the rear set to low, and then you've got the front at 70 degrees, which to be honest, we're probably going to lower that so I can be a little bit more chill here in the G90. But yeah, just overall functionality on the infotainment system, it's really easy to use. Response time on the touchscreen aspect of it is really good, and it's got a ton of cool little like functions and doodads in it. Down here just below the screen, yes, you do get a little clock, and I just want you guys to notice the dash and everything here, and I'll show you the dash a little bit more later. But yeah, really nice materials. And then you've got a bunch of analog buttons for the infotainment system. So if you like buttons, they've pretty much doubled up, so you can control things through the infotainment system, or you can use buttons, whatever you prefer. This I think is really neat. So look, you press this open, you're like, oh, not much is happening. You do have a USB in there, so you guys can't see that. You do have a USB and then a 12 volt inside of there, and then a wireless charge. You can just like slide your phone like right down there. It has a really cool like little look to it, and you're just like, boom, hide it. Now here's the shifter for the 8-speed automatic, and again, you can shift the gears yourself with that manual mode if you'd like. It's pretty easy to use. Up for reverse, down for drive, and then you just press P for park. That's for the camera views, and then your parking sensors, your auto hold, and then we've got the drive modes. So the drive modes actually pop up on the infotainment system, and notice you got the custom, you got the comfort and the sport, and then the eco, and then the custom. You do have the little settings that you can basically go into, and then notice this is where you can basically customize how it is set up in the basically custom setup. And so I think it's pretty cool. You can basically make it so the drive mode does what you want it to do. Now here's a little dial to control the infotainment system, then there's some shortcut buttons right there, and then down below you have the controls for the heated and ventilated seats, and then also for the sunshade in the back. And then yes, you do get heated steering wheel. This is just a couple cup holders, and again, they hide it under some really nice wood trim. And then for the center console, the button's actually right there. So you just press that, and then that'll open up the little center console. Notice that, yep, you do get a little 12 volt there at the bottom. And then closing that up, just like the material on the top just feels and looks really nice. And again, just kind of like noticing all of that, just like all the stitching, all the wood trim, just all of it is really premium. And then the glove box, pretty standard setup in terms of size. It's lined with felt, and in terms of like the material above the glove box. This is where we're going to focus on the dash. You have nice leather here, wood trim above with the metallic trim, more wood trim at the top, and then you've got the leather trim all across the whole dash, so it just looks really premium all around. And I just love how all the lines kind of connect through the interior. Like, look at that. You got that one single line that goes all the way across the dash and through the door. Before we go over the funky lights, I just want to show you guys. Yep, we do get a sunroof, and then it is all suede for the headliner, which definitely is really nice to even continue that onto the sunroof. And then, yeah, you get your traditional sunglass holder, and you're like, okay, nothing's too crazy. The lights, though, are very interesting. Look at this. I don't know if that's coming on the camera very well, but they don't just, like, pop on. They, like, softly pop on and, like, softly turn off at the same time. It's like, they don't want to be too sharp. They don't want to just be like, boom, on. They want to be like, hey, we're gonna illuminate. Okay, bye, we're going away. And yeah, that's the top. Okay, so first off, there's that color I can't pronounce. I'm guessing that is uni white, or I don't know. I can't pronounce it. If you guys can pronounce it, let me know, but yeah, I just can't. But here's the rest of the window stickers. So you guys can see the standard equipment that comes with the G90. And you guys can see, I mean, this thing's fully loaded as standard, and then you can see added features. We didn't really got to add anything, but you guys can see the total MSRP right there, $79,225. And, well, that all being said, I've got to step back quite a bit because this car is really long. Let's take the G90 out and see how it drives. Well, let's talk about visibility here in the G90 before we set off. So visibility over the hood, it's actually relatively easy to see over, and this is where I want to show you guys the heads-up display. So hopefully the GoPro is at the right angle where you can see the little heads-up display. If not, I'm sorry, I tried. There's your visibility through both of the mirrors, and this is where I want to show another cool feature. So you guys can see here in the little cluster, if I turn on the turn signal, it'll give me a little side camera depending on which I turn on. So like if I turn on the left one, the right one, it gives me a right camera, and then if I turn on the left one, it gives me a left camera. So that's a pretty neat little feature that I want to show you guys on the visibility standpoint with the car. And then here's your visibility all throughout the rear, and even with the sunshades up and everything, visibility is no problem. And that all being said, well, let's set off. Well, I'm initially setting off here in the G90, and it's been such a long wait for me to be able to review this car. These things sell amazingly fast. I don't know what it is, but I mean, well, I mean, we are setting off here in the G90, and I'm super excited to be able to review this. I've been waiting such a long time to be able to get my hands on one of these, and yeah, it's just because these things go really quickly, because it's just such a luxury bargain. We'll get to that at the end. So first setting off, the first thing that I notice is this car is exceptionally smooth from a ride quality perspective. The steering is really laid back, so it's really light. In terms of like the maneuverability, the car's not hard to maneuver at all. You don't get a whole lot of feedback. It's not like that sporty car feel or anything like that, but that's not what you expect with this particular car. With this car, you're kind of obviously going for like the hardcore luxury, and of course I get sprinklered on. Is that even a word, sprinklered? Probably not. But anyways, this car is just amazingly smooth and amazingly comfortable. And I need to turn the windshield wiper up. Okay, I figured it out, guys. You got to be smarter than the windshield wipers. But yeah, just amazingly smooth, amazingly comfortable from a ride quality perspective and from a steering perspective as well. And in terms of the noise insulation, it's just absolutely amazing from like a noise insulation perspective. And I obviously am going to be sitting here for a while because there's quite a bit of traffic, but we will be able to get our acceleration soon. I bet we'll be faster than that Challenger. Just kidding. But let's actually get our little acceleration here and see how that 5-liter V8 performs. Wow, that does really well, actually. So I'll go into the manual mode to see how the gear shifts perform in the manual mode. Those gear shifts are really smooth. even in the sport mode, it's just really smooth from a gear shift perspective, and the acceleration with this V8 is really smooth as well. It's got a good amount of power, it's got a good amount of torque. I feel like for like a luxury car, it's the perfect amount. And the thing that I noticed is this engine actually drives better when you're not like trying to go full throttle. Like, what you want to do is you want to drive this kind of like, imagine you're a chauffeur, or just imagine you're kind of just kind of driving around, and when you just like ease into the throttle, it just gives this like really nice power delivery. And so I think this V8 is a really good option. I love the 3.3 liter V6, but I think this V8 for sure is better than the V6, just from like a power delivery perspective for a luxury car like this. And that'll actually lead me now into summing things up with what I think about the G90 as like a total package. So first off, I definitely think this is a bargain. I mean, everything that compares to it, you're gonna be breaking six figures pretty much, or close to. And the fact that this is $80,000, I mean, it's significantly less than all of its competitors, and this has all of the same features. And again, the thing that I saw that people said is, oh, the fit and finish isn't as good, and that, I don't buy it. Like, the fit and finish on this car is really nice, the material choice is really nice, and so you just don't really lose out. You get the same tech, sometimes more safety tech than the other cars, all of the luxury tech as well, at a lower price point. And from an aesthetic standpoint, this is a really good looking car, especially the front end. The front end has this like nice, imposing, elegant look. And so I just don't think there's any losing with this car. So yeah, if you're in the market for a big luxury sedan like this, chauffeur type car, this is definitely, I would say, like my #1 pick right now in the market, just because it's such a good value. And yeah, that's the G90 for you guys. That is gonna sum things up for our video on the Genesis G90 in the ultimate trim package. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Ken Garff Hyundai / Genesis here in Southtown, Utah for providing us with this G90. Check out their inventory in the link below. I will see all of you in that next video.